Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. It is always a pleasure to see our next guest and time for a great summer read.
Yeah, absolutely. His newest book is called A Place Called Armageddon. And yeah, actually, it does have a little bit of a love story in it as well. CC Humphries joining us to talk about A Place Called Armageddon, Constantinople. Hello. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm very well. Very happy to be here.
Now, I was just saying, your last book, Vlad, which we both greatly enjoyed, came out in 2008.
2008.
And I said, you're rather prolific, but you just said, oh, yeah, well, I wrote another book in between. Look at the size of these things.
Yes.
Before we get to A Place Called Armageddon, what is the other book that you wrote?
I'm alternating, really, between adult and young adult fiction. And so the one I've written in between is called The Hunt of the Unicorn, and it's my first real fantasy novel. It's about a girl and a unicorn, would you believe?
Is there a purpose to that? I mean, to sort of mix up your reading, creativity?
Yes, in a way. I mean, I suppose it's just a different sort of, different discipline, different way of telling the story.
Yeah.
I don't, you can't write down or anything like that. Oh, I'm writing for kids now.
Yeah, I didn't mean it that way.
But no, I know. But no, it's really the type of story I feel like telling at the time.
Does anybody get impaled in that book?
Well, it is a unicorn.
Vlad the Impaler to,
It is a unicorn. You've got to
is.
consider the horn. No, there's very little impalement in any of my books apart from Vlad.
Well, that'll bring us to A Place Called Armageddon. There's not much impaling, but maybe tell us...
no impaling. Oh, no, there is a bit of impaling.
Yeah. Maybe that's nothing to you, Mr. Humphries, but tell us a little bit about the book.
This is a beautiful book.
Well, thank you. This book is the follow-up adult book to Vlad. It's set in the same time, approximately, as Vlad, and involves, in fact, some of the characters who are in Vlad, because in the book Vlad, his nemesis was Mehmet, the conqueror of Constantinople. And so I thought, well, why not do the conquest of Constantinople?
Why not?
It's an extra... I was also very immersed in that world at the time, and I'd been, while I was in Romania researching Vlad, I thought, well, I'm this close, just a short hop over the Black Sea. I might as well pop down to Istanbul, as one does. And so I popped down to Istanbul and loved it, spent about 5-6 days there. And I suppose that got the thoughts going. I wasn't there to research a book, but I'm always...
To travel and immerse the culture.
Exactly.
Constantinople, explain how it was fitting into the world at the time well, I guess before the 1400s and then in 1453.
Well, Constantinople was the capital of the Byzantine Empire, which had been founded really by Constantine, who was the emperor of Rome, and he decided Rome was becoming sort of untenable with all the barbarian invasions and stuff.
Recreate a new Rome.
A new Rome in a place that was superbly defensible, because it's surrounded on, it's a triangle basically, it's two sides of water, and then they started building these incredible walls, which sheltered. They describe it as a dog's head thrust into water. So you've got water on two sides, and across the neck is the collar of the walls.
And you've got 1, 2, 3 walls and
triple
killing
walls
zones in between.
Exactly, extraordinary defensive position. And so the Byzantine Empire was huge for 1,000 years, but gradually, for various reasons, they got sacked by the Venetians in 1204. There was all this stuff. So they gradually declined until basically it was the Byzantine Empire was Constantinople. But it was still the stepping stone that people wanted so much.
And had never been conquered. I mean, in its history.
It hadn't been taken. It had been sacked by the Venetians, but it had never actually been conquered by siege. Absolutely not. It had defeated siege after siege. And the Muslims, particularly the Turks, who were the rising power of the time, called it the Red Apple. They wanted the red apple to drop into their hands, and so Mehmet... Streets
of gold.
That's what they thought. That's what they thought, yeah. And Mehmet, who was 21 years old when he inherited his father's throne, he wanted to be the new Alexander, the new Julius Caesar. He loved all those stories, even though he was a Muslim leader. And so the stepping stone to that was to do what his father failed to do, his grandfather failed to do. He was going to take Constantinople.
Well, would you care to give us a little bit of a read?
Yeah, you've been kind enough.
It's become a tradition.
We said this last time. We don't let a lot of people do this.
Well,
but when you've got an accent like that, you just smarter.
Yes, yes.
Now, what are you going to read for us?
Well, it's a tiny little section, but why I wanted to read this was because how profoundly visiting Istanbul affected me. Particularly, the first time I was captivated. The second time, I lost my heart. It changed the way I wrote the book. I mean, I'd never really conceived of it as a book between sort of gallant, outnumbered Christians versus nasty infidels.
Yeah.
But being there and meeting the people, which I did, I went into those, you know, those nargile places and smoked apple tobacco and talked to the people there and met all sorts, you know, from every type of walk of society there. And it just seemed to me that the city was now populated by the descendants of people who'd fought both sides of the wall.
Yeah.
You know, Greeks, as they called themselves, and Turks.
Yeah.
And so the novel is very much, I mean, you get into the various character stories, because this is a character tale. It's not essentially I mean, it's a battle tale, of course, but it's about people. It's about, there's lovers, there's love triangles in it, there's warriors, there's peacemakers, there's all sorts. But it was the people of Istanbul that really, and their love of their city that really got me. And so the bit I'm going to read is about that. The first section of the book began with a Turk. He wasn't specified, it was just a Turk. We're coming to take your city. And this section, which starts the beginning of the siege, the real siege where it kicks off,
This is the city.
Is the Greek saying, you know, why we're fighting. He says, let me tell you of the last thing you cannot see, what it is that makes this city unconquerable. You cannot see my love for it. It is not solid like stone. It is not rousing as history is, nor sustaining as only God's words can be. My love is made of air itself, of the breath I take from east and west and the scents they bring in each season, of the sun I watch pass directly over me down the line of the Bosphorus, setting the dome of divine wisdom afire, falling on every column that marks our history, transforming the waters that surround and sustain us, from the blue smelted steel of our swords to the green of an empress's eye. In its daily course, the sun casts an even light upon the whole city, lingers like a lover reluctant to part, then flees suddenly, unable to look back, anxious to swiftly return, as it always does. As shall I. If I am too tired to lift my sword, I will lay my body in the breach to trip your foot. If my sacrifice is not worthy enough to mitigate my sins, perhaps it will yet be enough for God to grant one prayer, that I spend purgatory as a stone in Constantinople. Under that light, breathing those scents, part of that history, part of the greatest city on earth, as was, is, forever will be. I am Constantine Palaeologus, emperor, son of Caesars. I'm a baker, a rope wright, a fisherman, a monk, a merchant. I'm a soldier. I'm a Roman. I'm a Greek. I am 2,000 years old. I was born in freedom only yesterday. This is my city, Turk. Take it if you can.
You know what?
And then the siege begins.
You're just going to have to read it.
It's a tremendous
Chris,
book.
that was fantastic. Pick
Thank you.
up A Place Called Armageddon. Fantastic read if you're looking for one this summer.
As usual, not nearly enough time with you, but a real pleasure as always.
A pleasure. And can I show my shoulder now?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
yeah.
What's your tattoo?
This is Ur. I couldn't believe you got Ur all over the set. It's the rune, the Norwegian rune of creativity and transformation and change. So it's a perfect
Are you
metaphor
sure it
for this.
doesn't mean Urban Rush?
Yeah.
That as well.
I love it. Chris, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
man. A real pleasure.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break.